Hi, welcome to Colleagues Getting Coffee. It's been a minute since I did one of these, and I'm super excited to be joined by the fabulous Charlie Fletcher today. Hello.
Hi.
Charlie not only runs the BIG Noise Samba band in and around Gosport area, but also works for the Hampshire Cultural Trust. So hello, Charlie.
Hi.
Perfect. So tell us a little bit more about what you do for Hampshire Cultural Trust.
For Hampshire Cultural Trust, I'm the Learning and Engagement Coordinator for a project called the Gosport Heritage Generator, which is exactly what it says on the tin. So the idea is that we have NLHF funding and we're trying to build not just capacity in grassroots heritage organisations, but trying to get people to engage more in heritage and Gosport in general. We got skills programmes, we've got a grant programme, we made a board game, which is a lot of fun. We've just done an exhibition, which we've got at the gallery, which is all about entertainment and Gosport. So really it is about trying to raise that profile of Gosport's heritage and sort of looking at the other side of Gosport's heritage as well in history, because it's a very maritime sort of naval-based sort of story that we have in Gosport. But there's actually, if you dig a little bit deeper, there's a big story around sort of the culture and the social history and the entertainment history of Gosport. So that's the idea of what we're trying to do.
Well, little known secret, I've actually applied for one of these grants to do a puppet project about folklore stories about Gosport. So tell me why heritage is important in Gosport. Why?
Well, there's the obvious thing that it does instill a little bit of pride in the community. But it brings people together, right? Everybody's got a story. Everybody's got a story. And particularly around generations, it's really, really important that I feel there's a bit of a disconnect. I've worked with young people for like 25 years before I did this role. And there is, I think, a widening disconnect between the older generation and the younger generation, not just around tech and stuff like that. But that is definitely something which has an impact. But I think people actually telling stories to other people. That's the most important thing for me. A great example was when we did the Echoes of Applause documentary, and which was something we did last year before the exhibition. And a young person was chatting away to a person that was in the documentary. And they knew nothing. They knew absolutely nothing about it. But the conversations they had about, for example, this person was a musician in the 60s. This young person was a musician in the 90s. And just to see that happen. So yeah, it's all about telling Gosport's story. Heritage is something, the way you look at heritage is it's passing on the things that you value to the next generation. I
think bridging the gap as well for younger people creates that social pride and prevents antisocial behaviour and those sorts of things as well, which is really important.
There is, funnily enough, when the questions that you sent to me, there was a lot of things. One of the ones you did ask, and I put it down here, was the biggest myth about success and when you say your industry, because the arts and culture is still an industry, it's still business, you still use business practices. This idea that if you're in arts and culture, you're not using proper business. I started in IT as a software developer and stuff like that, so I took these business practices across to, if you want, the public sector, and they were severely lacking, to be quite honest, 20 years ago. But it's still a business, you know what I mean? So And basically this idea that there's no economic value in sort of entertainment and the arts and culture and stuff like that. I'm a big fan of trying to bust that myth, to be quite honest. I'll give you a very simple example. You take someone like, and I think I've mentioned to you before, the Mersey Beat, a Liverpool example. Over 6 years, from 1958 to 1964, there was a thing called Mersey Beat, which obviously started the Beatles. I think currently, right, so that's a 6-year little thing that happened over 6 years. It went from skiffle and it went all the way through. By 1964, it died. Done. Beatles became absolutely huge in the universe, but in general, Mersey Beat died. £120 million per year is generated in Liverpool right now because of the Beatles, right? 2,500 jobs. So this idea that there's no economic benefit in arts and culture, that's one thing. The other thing is the transferable skills that young people and anyone else who, not just young people, anyone who gets involved in the arts, as I say, it is business. We use business techniques and business skills, but it's interesting and fun sometimes. And then what you do, so if you engage somebody in arts and culture and they get those skills, when they go to apply them somewhere, they can apply them somewhere else. So yeah, I have a big bugbear about it being nice to have arts and culture.
Absolutely. People do think of it as kind of a fluffy thing.
It's yeah.
So it sounds to me like a lot of the things that you actually do kind of resonate on bringing people together, community, pride, those sorts of things. But you also do that in your personal life with the band.
Yes, yeah, that's an amazing thing actually when you think about it. We've come up for 20 years. Well,
Wow.
18 years right now. So I'm looking at doing a big celebration, shall we say, in that would be 2027.
Oh, well, next year. No, the year after.
No, the year after.
You were like, oh, panic.
Yeah, no, it's all right. I've got to get funding. But the Samba band, a couple of things about the Samba band which are really important is the oldest person we have in the Samba band is 78.
Oh, well.
And the youngest person we have in the Samba band is 16.
Wow.
And there's something about community music which it brings people together. So that to me is one of the more, it's not professional, although we do go out and gig and stuff like that. But to me, the most important part of that band is the Tuesday nights when we rehearse. And people get together, they learn techniques, they learn skills, but they chat to each other, they break down barriers. It's a proper equitable space for everybody. And I'm really proud. I mean, yes, we have gigged about 500 times, which is pretty cool.
And it's also really cool. Like, it is. Then it's like cool, isn't it?
It is quite cool. Jumping around at the front is quite annoying now when you get to a certain age, and walking backwards for 3.5 miles is something that I try not to do anymore, although I am very good at walking backwards.
I bet you are.
I'm really
Pro
good.
backwards walker people.
I have a little story about that. Somebody asked me, a friend of mine, Tony Palmer, who does video, I don't know if you know Tony, he asked me if I would do this music video just to be in it. And it was in Guildhall Square, and I had to, so on the steps, and I had to stand in Guildhall Square and then walk backwards through Guildhall Square into Commercial Road.
Oh, wow.
Backwards. And then turn around and walk backwards again. And then what he did is when he shot the video, he turned it round and reversed, and it looked all
cool.
lovely. Yep, videographer,
Yeah,
you probably like that
massive
stuff.
attack, very massive
Yes,
attack.
yeah. And he was like, God, you did that really well. And it's like, yeah, I've been playing at a Samba band for 15 years. I walk backwards much better than I walk forwards. But yeah, and it was unexpected. I didn't expect it to be where it is today. I didn't expect to have over 800 people over the last 20 years get involved in that. So I think it's quite a proud thing. It's a good thing for gospel. Not every town's got a Samba band.
No.
You know what I mean? So
Well, I think it's quite unusual, actually.
It's quite unusual, but we do have one across the water, and no, that's fine. I used to be in that band. Yeah.
So, okay, apart from walking backwards, would you say your actual key to success is across all of the things that you do?
Enthusiasm and passion, without a doubt. It's got to be.
Yeah.
And curiosity. So I like learning stuff, so that's handy. I love IT because I was a software developer. You know, I used to be a production planner. I like process and stuff like that, but I like being busy. But I like feeding my head. So I think anything that's, to me, success is about learning rather than, I'm not very materialistic. Yeah. Which is fine. Well, I am materialistic, but my materialism is job satisfaction, is seeing, sounds very hippie, doesn't it? You know, hence why I liked teaching and stuff like that. Yeah. It's just what I like doing. But enthusiasm and passion will get...
So how do you keep the enthusiasm and the passion up?
Okay, that's an interesting one. I think there's a little bit of genetics involved there.
Yeah.
Can't say much about... I do think you're born with it to a certain extent. My son is like 30 years old. He's working in IBM at the moment, and we were having a chat the other day, and he always has this imposter syndrome thing because he's doing really well. And he's like,
really common actually in the younger generation. Yeah. Because there's so many references they can compare themselves to.
Yes. Yeah. So, and he's like, you know, why am I liked? Why am I doing so well and stuff like that? And he's not too sure why. But we were chatting about it the other day. We talk a lot. He lives in Gosport at the moment, and his personality. He likes to chat. He likes to get to know people. He's very good at networking. I'm not very good at networking because I don't like big rooms full of people. I'll zone in on somebody that I know.
Yeah.
Straight, that's how I do. Put me on the stage, happy man. Right? Absolutely happy man. If you do that.
Actually very much like that. I used to love networking and now I can't stand it.
I've never been a fan of being in a room of people that I don't know. I don't like this idea that you zone in on, you know, that's the person you need to be talking to.
Yeah.
Or I don't do that. But again, I've done keynotes and stuff like that, and I love it. You know, put me on a stage with 5,000 people and I'm happy. But again, it's about wearing a different coat and stuff like that. So me as a natural person, people think I'm very amiable and dynamic and stuff like that. But I like to be quite quiet.
I'm exactly the same. It's called an ambivert, where you can be out there and loud, but actually you can then also really retreat back.
An ambivert.
Ambivert.
I like that.
I know.
Right. Yes. Well, so I'm an ambivert. Yeah. And it's all about performance.
Yeah.
I used to say to young people, particularly when they're on stage, that idea that when you go on stage and you come off and you've got that buzz, whether it be singing or dancing or speaking, it doesn't matter, but you get that buzz, and then you come off and there's no way to go. So if you stay in the same mindset as you were before you went on stage, you've got nowhere to go. So it's a performance thing. So the minute you go on stage, you stick a coat on.
Absolutely.
And you go, right, I am not me. I am me, part 2, version 2 or whatever. And it's a very important thing in terms of, if you look at and probably not just in the entertainment industry, I'm pretty sure some very high-powered business people feel the exact same. You know, TEDx people that go on stage. If you come off and you haven't got anywhere to go, you have to then stimulate yourself in other ways, and that's where you get into all those problems. Artists are a great example. You know, if you play in front of 150,000 people and you come off, and you just have a cup of tea, that's a hard thing for an artist to do.
Dopamine chasing. Right?
It's a total dopamine thing. So what you have to do is, when you go on stage, it's an act, and it's not an act as in it's false. It's protection. It's just what you do. Now, I do that quite naturally. I don't even think about it. I'm quite blasé about doing that. I go on stage, lights on. You just do it. You know, it's
turn it on or turn it off.
Yeah, you go into your studio, red lights on, right, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
Red light goes off, right, I'm a different person. So I think that's really, but it does come down to personality, enthusiasm and curiosity, but you've got to want to learn.
On that note, what are you learning right now? Is there anything you're reading, listening to?
I'm reading a book by Joe Boyd, he wrote a book called White Bicycles. Very, very famous record producer from the 60s. I mean, some of the bands, and Nick Cave, no, come on, Nick Drake.
Okay.
So he managed Nick Drake, incredible string bands. He wrote this book called White Bicycles. He's now written a book called, it's The Roots of Rhythm Around the World. But it's, for me, I'm an ethnomusicologist, which is a great word. So I studied ethnomusicology at Sheffield University, and it's world music. It's a little bit anthropology, sociology, and musicology. Put it all together, another ology, which is
ology,
lots of ologies. So I'm really fascinated by that. The other thing I do is I learn. It sounds weird, but I'm learning Python because I like learning code. My go-to book at night is
coding.
Yeah, I just sit there and read it.
Exciting.
Yeah, sorry. I did, methods and stuff. I can't help it.
So sometimes it's a bit of a cleanse to the brain, isn't it? You're thinking about one sort of thing all day long or in your life, and then you're like, oh, just this random thing.
Well, and it also helps me get sleep, which sounds silly.
Yeah.
When I used to work in software, I remember having a problem that I could go home to, and I'd lie in bed and I'd try and work out the code. I wouldn't write it. I'd just try and work it out, and it would get me to sleep. So it's almost like counting sheep.
It's giving me like Elton John vibes from Rocket Man, where he's seeing the chess pieces or whatever it is on the ceiling. That kind of vibe.
Yeah, it's that sort of thing. Yeah. So I'm doing that, but I like. I don't learn enough. I want to learn how to fish properly as well, but that's just another thing. Yeah.
I love that. Well, get out and about, get in nature.
I know. Yeah.
So let's think of one more question for today. What would you say? I quite like this one. What's one unpopular opinion you have about the way people do business today?
I did think about this.
This is very good because you're a very contrary person, so I'm into this answer. What do you want to say?
Well, quiet hiring.
Quiet hiring?
Well, I can't stand it. Right. Right, now, full disclosure, until yesterday I didn't know it was called quiet hiring. Right. Yep. I was looking at this. Essentially, it's that idea where you... say, for example, somebody leaves an organisation and then you backfill by giving those tasks and things to another person without rehiring.
Oh, wow.
So that idea where you start putting more you take the resources you have and you fling more onto the single person. Apart from burnout, which is a very obvious thing, you think about it, who works 7.5 hours a day anymore?
Oh, 100%, yeah.
But they get paid for 7.5 hours a day. Yeah, if you work your salary out.
But isn't that the individual's responsibility? No?
No, because if you didn't, it is, again, I was thinking that if you take somebody like a CEO or somebody who's got their own business, you have you have the passion and enthusiasm, and if you want the risk, you're taking the risk. If it goes well as the owner, you'll really benefit out of that. So yeah, the idea, and I do it, I'm a workaholic, especially when I'm freelance, yeah? But I wouldn't expect other people to do that. The benefits I get as the owner of the organization or the owner of the business are completely different to the benefits of somebody doing more work for you for less. And it comes down to doing more work for less, right? Because because you can't do it in that 7.5 hours. So you end up going, I'll do it in 8 hours. I'll do it in 9 hours.
Well, also, you
go home.
fool yourself into this. Well, I kind of work better when I wake up a bit earlier in the morning before I go to work. And then suddenly you're working at 6 a.m., 9 p.m., whatever.
Yeah.
One of the things I've seen I quite like is when a manager will say on the end of every email, I'm messaging you, but I don't expect you to reply out of work hours.
I agree, but I still think that's massively passive-aggressive.
Do you think?
Yes, because of course you're going to rant. You know, you've just done it.
You're going to think about
it. I'm better than you, right? But you don't have to do this, right? Yeah. And it's true. I mean, if you run an organisation, you do have to put the hours in massively. But I just think, particularly in the public sector, right? And in the public sector where funding is drying up, particularly in the education centre, I'll sort of zone in on that. I know that around the colleges and the schools around here, that when people leave, they'll backfill that job by changing job descriptions, for example. And it's not, there's nothing malicious about it. It's they haven't got the funding. The problem you got with that is you will never get that funding back if you say we can manage it now. You know what I mean? So you lose an employee, you backfill, you recreate somebody's job role. Or 2 or 3 people's job role. You disseminate that work out. You'll never get that other person back in terms of funding because you've proved to a certain extent you can do it. That is a slippery slope into, as I say, burnout, being inefficient, having a demotivated workforce. It's, you know, people need it's not about working to live. Right? Is that right? Yeah.
Working to live. No, working to live, not living to work.
That's the one, right? It's working to live, not sorry. But you know what I mean? It's that idea where it shouldn't be the be-all and end-all. If you want to do it, and you're right, it is a personal choice thing, but you shouldn't be penalised
if you don't
for doing your job.
Yeah, for sure.
Based on what, and that's just, it's a little bugbear of mine, particularly with it working in the third sector and the public sector. As funding's gone like that, they still expect the same job to be done. And at some point, that's not going to work. So quiet hiring.
Quiet? I've never heard of it before, so I like that. Thank you. Okay, so one key takeaway from today, from everything you've ever learned in business, in life, what's your one key takeaway for our audience?
What would I say? If it looks easy, it probably isn't.
Excellent. Yes, that's very true.
Yeah,
excellent.
Yeah, if it looks easy, it's probably not.
No,
I spend my life trying to make things look easy, but they're really hard.
I know. It's actually funny because people think, "Oh my God, that's just," but you're like, the workload. I feel that.
Forget that 10 years of learning. Forget all that. And you make it look easy. But it's not,
You look like the swan on the top and the legs underneath.
Yeah.
Okay, very cool. Thank you very much for joining me.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you.